Hello, this is the Lord's Legion and welcome to a brand new review, and this is part of the path to Infinity War where I focus on all of the MCU movies and I'm going to be reviewing each and every one up until the release of Avengers Infinity War. And to continue on with that trend, we're going to be focusing on Iron Man 2, which many people deem it to be the worst one in the MCU. Well, it's either that or Thor: The Dark World, but you get what I'm saying. But is it as bad as everyone else makes it out to be? Well, let's find out. So clearly Iron Man 2 takes place right after the first one left off, and we do deal with Tony Stark after he revealed to the world that he is Iron Man. And since then, Tony Stark has a lot of obstacles to go through, such as the government wanting to use his weapons and armor, as well as the fact that Tony Stark is dying from a poison within the arc reactor. But most importantly, we have a brand new villain in the name of Whiplash, who holds a huge vendetta against both Iron Man as well as the Stark legacy. And honestly, looking back at Iron Man 2, it is clearly a mess. And from what I can understand from behind the scenes is the fact that Marvel Studios had no intention of making Iron Man 2 this soon. And because of the overwhelming success of the first one, they were pretty much forced in making Iron Man 2 and tried to pump it out before the Avengers. And after being aware of what's going on behind the scenes, it clearly shows that in Iron Man 2 it was a rushed production. Now, although I do think that Iron Man 2 is most likely the weakest film within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I don't think that it's all bad, because there are some genuine good ideas from Iron Man 2 that in theory should have worked. And unfortunately, it was Disney that meddled with the whole production of Iron Man 2, and that's where it suffered the most. And when you look back on Iron Man 2 as a whole, it was clearly supposed to be an Avengers trailer first, before even an Iron Man sequel. And that's the film's biggest sin of them all, because if it wasn't for the shoehorned in references as well as characters, then Iron Man 2 would have been a much more focused film. Now, the cast as a whole, they do a pretty fine job with what little they had to work with. Robert Downey Jr. did a pretty good job as Tony Stark, but unfortunately he was written terribly this time around to the point where he was an unlikable asshat. And I will admit that there are some genuine good scenes with Tony Stark that are actually memorable, but what really hurts Tony Stark as a character is the fact that he was so written inconsistently. And ultimately it felt like a major step back for Tony Stark and Iron Man. Gwyneth Paltrow as Pepper Potts was also an unlikable douchebag this time around, because unlike the first film, Pepper Potts is actually useless and all she ever does is bitch to Tony every opportunity she gets. Don Cheadle as Rhodey Rhodes is infinitely much better in comparison to Terrence Howard, and the character in general had more stuff to do this time around. And out of everyone in this entire movie, with the exception of Tony Stark, I think Rhodey was the best character in the entire film, and I do think that he is an amazing war machine. Scarlett Johansson, God bless her soul, did really try to play Black Widow in this movie, and unfortunately she really did fall flat. However, it's not really Scarlett's fault, but rather the weak script, and she did more than redeem herself in future films. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury was pretty much redundant in this entire movie, and the only reason why he's really there in the first place is just so that he can remind everyone that the Avengers is coming. Not to say that he was bad, but similarly to Black Widow, he didn't really have anything to work with. Sam Rockwell plays as Justin Hammer in this movie, and I honestly don't know why people like this character. Because honestly, I believe that Justin Hammer is the biggest wanker in the MCU, and every time I saw him on screen, I wanted to punch him in the face. And yeah, I do get it, that is the whole point of his character, and Sam Rockwell does a fine job, but this character doesn't work for me at all. And finally we have Mickey Rourke as Whiplash, and honest to God, I feel so sorry for Mickey Rourke, because he really did try to make this villain work, and his whole motivation the entire time were pretty fascinating. Unfortunately, the film goes nowhere with that character and decides to just use him as a one and done villain. And the way Iron Man 2 treated this character as well as Mickey Rourke, I can actually understand as to why he's so pissed off at Marvel, because he genuinely did have some potential here. The special effects in this film are still pretty good, which is no surprise coming from the Iron Man trilogy. And the action scenes were pretty stellar for the most part, but unfortunately, as cool as some of the special effects were as well as some good imagery, the whole film as a whole falls flat due to the whole messy narrative. But looking back on Iron Man 2, as negative as I sound in this entire review, watching the whole movie again, I do see where they're trying to go with the entire narrative, and there are some genuine good ideas that should have worked in theory. And the truth is, Iron Man 2 could have been a great sequel for Iron Man if it wasn't for Disney with their meddling. And luckily for Marvel Studios, Disney didn't bother to meddle with any of their future movies since Iron Man 2. Because the whole story was a huge mess from top to bottom, the characters were unlikable for the most part, and above all else, it was a huge advertisement for the Avengers movie. And if it wasn't for the good special effects as well as the action and the cast being great as always, I would probably hate this movie, but the truth is, there are some genuine good moments sprinkled throughout Iron Man 2. Which is why the final verdict for Iron Man 2, I'm going to give it a very generous 6 out of 10, and it is pretty above average. Because in the end, Iron Man 2 was clearly rushed. So what do you think of Iron Man 2? Did you enjoy the movie more than I did, or do you believe that's one of the weakest films in the MCU? Comment below and share some thoughts. And as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Take care and have a good one.